I've been retired for a year and a half now, and I just realized something this week that I never expected to feel. Something that I've actually been feeling all along and just never noticed. Retirement doesn't feel like an accomplishment or an achievement. It doesn't feel like this finish line that I worked so hard to reach over the past 4 decades. It feels like the last chapter, the final, the end. And once I let myself think that, really think it, the question that followed stopped me cold. If retirement is the last milestone, what comes after it? Hi everyone, I'm Laura and welcome to Sunrise at Sea. This morning we're sailing through the Skjolden Fjord passage in Norway. Look at this place. The cliffs on both sides of this ship are, I don't even have the words for it. Enormous doesn't cover it. Ancient isn't quite right. It almost feels like you're in the middle of a movie. The water up here is this deep green color, and it's so still, even with the ship moving through it. It literally looks more like glass than water. There's a peace to it I haven't quite felt anywhere else. Like the water itself isn't in any hurry. But man, it's cold this morning. Cold enough that I wrapped both hands around my coffee just to feel the warmth of it. Maybe I need to start wearing some mittens when I come out here to the balcony. Norway has been different than anywhere else I've ever sailed in this past year and a half. The skies are cloudy, and it's been a lot rainier than I expected. Up until now, I'd spent most of my time sailing in sunny places like Mexico, the Caribbean, even the Mediterranean, where the weather is warm and bright, and I find myself spending lots of time in the ports wandering around. There was always somewhere to be, something filling my eyes, my ears, and my thoughts. But up here, it's quieter, slower, and in that stillness, a thought, a feeling, honestly, a fear that I hadn't even realized was there. It finally had enough room to surface. I want to talk about something I don't think gets said out loud enough. At least it's something I've never actually heard anyone say. Something I've never even said to myself until literally this past week. When people talk about the fears of retiring, they usually start with money. At least I know I did. Will I have enough? What happens if I run out? What if I outlive my savings? And I had that fear, deeply. It's the one that came up most often. But I want to be honest about what that fear actually is, because it's not really about the number in the bank account. If I'm being completely honest, this fear didn't start when I was thinking about retirement. It started when I was a kid. Growing up, money was power in my house. My dad controlled all of it. Every financial decision went through him. And I remember being young, really young, and having this feeling in my chest that I never wanted anyone to have that kind of control over my choices, over whether I could say yes or no to something, over what I was allowed to do. I specifically remember wanting a pair of Jordache jeans so badly in the 8th grade. Everyone had a pair, but I was never allowed to get them. I even begged for ways to earn money. I was willing to do whatever it took, but we didn't have an allowance. It wasn't the way our family worked. So the answer was just no. No choice, no options, no but what ifs. And that feeling never left me. If anything, it probably became the engine behind 30 years of climbing and working and never stopping. Because every raise, every promotion, every paycheck that landed in my own bank account felt like protection. It felt like freedom. It felt like nobody gets to decide for me how and what I spend my money on. And now here I am, retired. And that childhood fear has come back around in a way I didn't expect. Because running out of money at this stage of life doesn't mean a tighter budget. It means the choices start to disappear again. It means possibly making medical decisions based on what I can afford, not what's actually best for me. It could mean needing to depend on family to help care for me because I have no other options. It means someone else getting to decide again. Money at this point in life isn't about luxury, it's about dignity. It's about being able to determine how you spend your final years, your final months, and your final days on your own terms. But that fear, as real as it is, as deep as it goes, has a path forward. It's actually a mathematical equation, a financial plan that you can build and stick to. Is it hard? Yes. Is it perfectly solvable? Not perfectly. But guardrails can be built, and that matters. That fear has a direction you can move in. But then there's the fear that hit me equally as hard. And this one is more personal. My job title, my role, my identity. For decades, they were all the same thing. I was a senior vice president managing a team of over 1,800 people globally. And when someone asked me what I did, which people do constantly, it's usually the second question out of their mouth. That answer did something. It opened a conversation. It created follow-up questions. Where did you work? For how long? What division? Did you know so-and-so? There was this whole world of interest that came with it. And it wasn't just about the title. That answer came with a whole set of adjectives attached to it. Smart, hardworking, dedicated, committed, driven. The job title handed me an identity that the world recognized and responded to. And I'm not going to pretend that it didn't feel good. It felt powerful. It felt like I mattered in a way that was visible and legible to other people. And then I retired. And the next time somebody asked me what I did, I said, I'm retired. And I watched something happen in that conversation that I wasn't prepared for. It ended. Not rudely, not unkindly. It just ended. Oh, that's great. And then we moved on to something else. There were no follow-up questions. There was no interest. No world that opened up from that answer. Just, I'm retired, period. Next topic. And I remember thinking, is that it? Is that the answer from now on? Because it didn't feel like an accomplishment. It didn't feel like something worth asking about. It felt like the conversation equivalent of a period at the end of a sentence. Done. Full stop. We're moving on. That fear, the identity fear, also has a direction you can move in. You find new things, you build new purpose. You discover that there was always more to your job than ever captured. The part of you was just waiting for the space to show up. And I'm still working toward that every single day. And to be perfectly honest, the job title never even mattered. But that's a topic for another day. Those two fears, the money and the identity, I had thought about for years. Probably around the time I turned 40. I had been bracing for them. They were hard, but they had answers I could work toward. But there is a third fear. One I did not know was there until literally this past week. One that had been buried so deep under decades of a career that never slowed down, under a life that never left enough quiet to ask the really hard questions that I never once felt it. And I honestly didn't even know it existed. And here is the part that makes this fear different from the other two. I have no roadmap for it, no mentor who showed me the way. I have no older family members who modeled what this phase of life looks like and to help me understand what to expect. I grew up without grandparents. All four had passed away except for my mother's mom, and that relationship was estranged. The only memory I have of her is sitting in a station wagon outside a church at her funeral, and my mom being really sad. We were little, and I don't think she wanted us to be at the funeral. And then she was gone, and that was the extent of my exposure to old age in my family. And then I lost my mom when she was in her early 50s, and my dad 10 years after that. Which means I've never watched someone I love navigate the later chapters of life. I have never seen what it looks like up close. I have no frame of reference. No one to call and say, is this normal? Is this what it feels like? What did you do when you got here? I am navigating this phase of my life completely without a map. And I think about that sometimes. How different this might feel if I had someone to call. Someone who had been here before me. Someone who could say, yes, I felt that too. And here's what I found on the other side of it. Here's what surprised me. Or here's what I wish someone had told me. I do not have that person. And I suspect a lot of you may not have that person either. Because maybe you lost your parents too early, or because the relationship was complicated, or because the people in your life who are older simply did not talk about these things. Because their generation just didn't. Because you were supposed to figure it out when you got there. Well, here I am. I'm figuring it out, and this is what I found when I finally got quiet enough to look. And I think this is part of why this third fear hit me so hard when Norway finally gave it enough quiet to surface. Think about every milestone your life has handed you. Every single one you worked toward, looked forward to, and then finally reached. You had your childhood. You were a student. You went grade to grade, accomplishing the milestone of entering that next grade. You became a high school graduate, maybe a college graduate. You started a new job. You moved up in your career. You got married, had kids, maybe even 2.5 of them. Became a homeowner, became a grandparent. Each one was a milestone you could see ahead of you, something to reach for, a new identity, an accomplishment. Something that when you got there meant you had done something real with your life. And behind every single one of these milestones, there was always another one waiting, a bigger one. The next rung on the ladder, the next version of yourself growing. This is a structure most of us have lived inside our entire lives without even realizing it. There's always a next thing. There are always more steps on that staircase. And then you reach retirement. And for the first time in your entire life, you look ahead and you ask, what is the next milestone? And that question stops you cold. Because when you really sit with it, when you're honest enough to go there, you realize that saying out loud that you are retired is admitting that you're entering the last phase of your life. What comes after retirement? Getting older? The aches and pains that weren't there 5 years ago. Time feels shorter. It feels fleeting. It's like a runaway train that you can't stop. all at the same time. And eventually, if you're honest enough to say it, the end. That's it. Just the end. I'm not saying this or trying to be dark. I'm saying it because I think this is the fear that nobody names. The money fear had a plan. The identity fear had a path. But this one, you cannot save your way out of getting older. You cannot promote yourself past it. You cannot plan your way around it. It's happening whether you like it or not. And I think that is exactly why it stayed so deep for so long. I didn't even know I felt this fear. I honestly didn't even know it existed. But as I'm saying these words out loud right now for the first time, it's actually been there all along. Because what do you do with a fear that has no answer? A fear that has no solution? I want to be honest with you. I am not sitting here this morning with a tidy resolution. I've been sitting with this for a week in the quiet of Norway, and I'm still sitting with it. I recently learned that the word fjord actually means crossing point in Old Norse. Not a destination, it's a crossing point. A place people moved through on their way to wherever they were going next. I really love that, because that is exactly what this feels like right now. It's not a place to stay. It's a place to move through. And sitting here on this balcony, sailing through something this ancient and this still, it hit me. This is exactly where I am, in the crossing point between what I've already lived and whatever comes next. And I know I still have so much more life to live. I mean, I'm living on a cruise ship through Norway. I think it's going to be okay. But in all seriousness, here's what I want to say to you and to myself this morning. Yes, I said it out loud. I am retired. And when I dug all the way down to the bottom of what that word means, I found that fear. The fear that this is the last chapter, that the world is done handing me milestones, that I've hit the end, or the end is near. But here's what else I found when I got down there. The reason retirement feels like the last chapter is because we have spent our entire lives letting the world write our milestone for us. Graduate, get the job, get married, earn the promotion, buy the house, retire. Oh, and the kids and grandkids, we can't forget them. Those were their milestones given to us, expected of us. But what if retirement isn't the last milestone? What if it's the first one you get to choose entirely on your own? You can run a marathon, build something with your hands, travel somewhere that's been on your bucket list for 30 years, start something that involves what you actually love, volunteer in a way that matters to you, create something, connect with people in ways that have nothing to do with a performance review or a job title or what anyone expects of you. Physical milestones, emotional ones, creative ones, short-term and long-term. Milestones that belong completely to you, that no one assigned, that no one is measuring, that only exist because they matter to you. And maybe, for the first time, that's enough of a reason. Because retirement does not have to be your last chapter. Maybe retirement is the beginning of an entirely new book. It's not the end of the book. This is the start of the chapter you finally get to write yourself. In your own words, in your own time, on your own terms. I'm in that crossing point right now. I have no idea what's on the other side. But I know I'm in the ship and I'm moving through. And that, right now, is enough. If you are somewhere near this feeling this morning, whether you are afraid to retire, whether you are already in retirement and quietly wondering what comes next, whether you have never said out loud what I just said, but recognized every word of it, I want to ask you something. Have you ever dug all the way down to the bottom of your fear of retirement? Not the money fear, not the identity fear, the deepest one, the one about what comes after. And if you have, you are not alone. And you are not wrong to feel it. It is real. It is honest. I also want you to know something else. If you're navigating this part of your life without a roadmap, without older family members who modeled what this looks like, or without a mentor who has been here before you, you are not alone in that either. A lot of us are figuring this out without a map. Maybe that is exactly why we need each other. Retirement does not have to be your last milestone. It can be the moment you stop letting the world hand you milestones and start choosing your own. Before this day is over, find a quiet moment and write down one milestone, just one. Something that has nothing to do with the job title or what anyone else expects of you. It could be something physical, something creative, something that simply connects you to people you love. Something that has been sitting in the back of your mind for quite some time, just waiting. That time is now. You are in the crossing point, and what is on the other side is yours to build. Write it down. Keep it somewhere where you will see it. And then come share it in the comments. Tell me your milestone, not just for yourself, but because someone else reading your words might need to hear exactly what you're working toward. Let's hold each other to it. Let's cheer each other along the way, because that is exactly what this community is here for. That is your next milestone, the one you choose, the one that belongs entirely to you and only you. Take good care of yourself this week. I'll see you next Sunday from wherever the sea takes us.